All right. Hello, everybody. We'll get started in just a second. Let's see. Everyone, do me a quick favor. Um, Find the chat box. I want to make sure that everyone can hear me. Find the chat box and just put like a one or just put something in the chat box if you can hear me okay. Do me a quick favor if you could do that. Hello, Angie, Anna. Nastia can hear me. Yolanda can hear me. Angie, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. John, hello. Ruth, good evening, everybody. Dorothy, thanks for joining us. All right. Well, my name is Connor Nilsson. I'm going to be going over with you guys the biggest mistakes that first-time home buyers make when they're buying a home. And yeah, I just out of curiosity, where's everybody looking to buy a home at? Like, what part of the Metroplex? Obviously, this is geared towards the Metroplex. Put in the chat box if you're looking in Arlington, Dallas, Fort Worth. Where are you? Parker County. Where do you want to buy a home? Let me put in the chat box. I'm always interested to hear where people are tuning in from, where they want to buy a house. Forest Hill. All right. Yolanda wants to be in Forest Hills. Great area. Well, I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thanks for joining me today. Anywhere in Tarrant County. I like it, Angie. Yeah, anywhere you can get a good deal, right? Um, yeah, so my name is Connor Nielsen. I am not the star of the show today. You guys are, and what you are trying to accomplish, your goal for your family, that is what we are here to talk about. Ruth wants to be in Springtown or the surrounding areas. Very cool. All right, so when I created this webinar, this presentation, I called it DFW First Time Homebuyer Class, Avoid These Costly Mistakes. I think what I really should have called this is like, let's see here, AKA how not to screw this up. Because that's really what we would like to learn how not to do, right? Like who wants to buy a home and like mess up that process, or who maybe wants to learn about the potholes that they might step on that we can avoid so you don't mess this up. Um, so I am going to kind of go over everything with us. It shouldn't take too long. So we'll get started here. I do want this to be interactive though. So, stay interactive in the chat for me, camera on or off. Perfectly fine. Either way, it's your choice. It's more fun for me if the camera's on, but I get it. You might be cooking dinner, bathing kids, had a long day at work, just aren't feeling it. That's perfectly fine. No pressure from me. Make sure that if you have any question, raise your hand, stack them up in the chat box. I'm going to get to all of them, even if I have to stick around until 9 o'clock tonight. But don't be shy to ask a question, because chances are if you're thinking of the question, maybe someone else in the group is thinking of the question too. And so you're just going to help everyone by asking it. So just don't be shy to ask any question at all. Real quick though, someone on this call is going to win $500 tomorrow. Yeah, sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. I was just kind of feeling like blessing someone. So somebody on this call is going to win $500 completely. Like, there's no gimmick, no obligation. I just feel like giving it to someone. All you have to do to win, type in the chat box right now, 500. And that's how you enter to win. Now, disclaimer, I'm not paying anyone to work with me, nothing like that. I don't care. Tomorrow I'll either Venmo you or Zelle you, or I don't know, you want me to mail you a check? I don't care. One person is going to win $500. We got two people, Nastia and Yolanda. You got a 50-50 chance right now of winning. If anyone else wants to, oh, okay, 500, please, Angie. There we go. Yeah, just that's all you have to do is post that on there. And yeah, someone's going to win it tomorrow. I'll call the winner. So thanks for doing that. Okay, so let me ask you guys, how are you feeling about buying a home right now? Like this process, when you think about buying your first home, how does it make you feel? Concerned, stressed out, intimidated, anxious, uncertain, scared even? I know that when I bought my first home, I probably felt all of that plus more, stressed, scared, all of the above and more, says Ruth. Yeah. Yeah, what I've learned in like 9 years of doing this is there is a whole host of emotions. And so what my goal for you guys tonight is I want you to feel at the end of this call, just like I want you to be able to go, "Ooh, okay, we got this. It's not that hard. It's not that stressful. It's not that scary." That's my hope after the end of this call is that you would feel like that. Now I know that's a tall order. That's a big like promise to fulfill. But I think I can hold up my end of the bargain and yeah, and just help you guys maybe relieve some of that stress. So um, also, if you do stay to the end of the call, I got another $1,000 of goodies for you. You don't have to type anything in for this. It's just if you stay to the end of the call, you decide maybe you want to do something. I got about $1,000 worth of cool things I do for my clients, and I'll go over that later. So, all right. So who am I? And why should you listen to me? Why should you spend any of your time right now listening to me? So my name's Connor Nielsen. I'm the president, owner, founder, whatever you want to call me, of a brokerage here in the DFW area called Close Real Estate. We're in a couple different cities in Texas now. But I have personally sold hundreds of homes. I've helped hundreds of home buyers and home sellers sell homes across Texas. If you add up everything my team's done, I've helped, it's thousands. So I don't know what this red line is on the screen. No idea how to get that off. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's cool. Just roll with it. It'll be fine. So, um, okay. So, I like to just kind of give a quick debrief of me, my big why. This is my family right here. It's my beautiful bride, Morgan. She's holding my youngest daughter, Rory, and my oldest daughter, Kinley. And fun fact, we got another one. I've got another bun in the oven. We're having a boy this time. So I've been in real estate for about 9 years, going on 9 years, actually. I'm in my ninth year. Yeah, that's how I should say it. I graduated from Hardin-Simmons University. I played football there. That's where I met my wife, fell in love with her. She played volleyball. My hobbies include work and hanging out with my family. That's all I do. I'm kind of weird. I don't golf, don't play video games. I love what I do. I started this from really nothing and have grown it. And this is my passion. This is what I love doing. And when I'm not doing this, I'm hanging out with those three girls, soon to be three girls and a boy. So my big gift, I love helping people. I have no special talents in this world. Like I can't sing or anything like that. Can't dance. What I like to do is I like to help. I think I can help anyone with anything. That's always my goal. So at the end of this, if buying a home isn't what you want to do, anything like that, I want you to know that I could be a resource for anything. I have the privilege of networking and connecting with people across all industries. And so, yeah, I like to help anyone with anything. If you ever need something, you'll have my contact information. Just reach out. I'm always happy to help. So, okay. So I absolutely love working with home buyers. Oh, Angie, you can sing? All right. We might have to. Okay, so just a funny story. I think they're my what I always say at church is I sing loud and bad, but I think they're about to ask me to stop singing. I sing so loudly and so badly. But anyway, I love home buyers. It's my favorite thing to do in real estate is to work with home buyers. Out of all the aspects of real estate, working with home buyers, specifically first-time home buyers, is by far what I get the most fulfillment, enjoyment with. There's nothing quite like helping someone achieve the American dream. And yeah, home buyers love me. You can go type me in Google. I'm very Googleable, see tons of 5-star reviews, blah, blah, blah. I hate talking about myself. You get the point. I'm not the star of the show tonight. You guys are. So, all right. So here's what I've learned in 9 years of doing this. Most buyers screw this up. Now, I don't mean most home buyers. I mean like 90% of all buyers screw this up at some way in the process. So let's figure out how not to do that. So based on like the last 9 years, I can tell you most people are going to end up either in the wrong house or in the wrong deal because they overpaid, they left money on the table. My job today is to help you kind of be able to see around the corners so that you're going to be the most well-prepared home buyer in all of Texas. That's what I want. So are we ready to just rip the Band-Aid off and talk about all of these mistakes that I see most people make? Let's get to this. First one's going to blow your mind. So mistake number one, first-time home buyers, they don't take advantage of first-time buyer programs. I'm going to say it again because this is just crazy. First-time home buyers don't take advantage of first-time home buyer programs. Like, it's just baffling. Okay, so if they're not taking advantage of them, who is? And what are these first-time home buyer programs? We're going to talk about those. But before we do that, I know people are really busy. something might come up. You can't stick around for the rest of this call. I am going to put a link in the chat to my calendar. Feel free to just book a call with me and I'll go over the rest of this if for some reason you can't stick around. Hopefully you can, but if you can't, my calendar is in the chat. All right, let's keep going. All right, so what is a first-time home buyer program? There are a lot of them. So I'm going to it's like Baskin Robbins 31 flavors. I'm going to go over some of these with you. So some of them are specific to the location of the home. So what I want you to imagine is if I live on this side of the street, I get a first-time home buyer program. If I live on this side of the street, or if the home that you're buying is on this side of the street, I should say, you don't get a first-time home buyer program. Some of them are specific to the location and they can literally be across the street from each other. It's just a matter of working with someone who knows which ones do and which ones don't. Some of them are going to depend on your income. Okay, meaning like if you make this much or less, you qualify for a first-time home buyer program. If you make this much or more, maybe you don't. Some of them may require you to hang on to the home for a few years. That used to be a bigger deal, maybe like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when you had to stay in the home for like 9, 10 years. Today, 2 to 3 years max. I would imagine most people tuning in today are not planning on like buying a home and bouncing out in like a year or 2 years. So that's not really a problem anymore. Some of them may have interest rates that are a lot more favorable than the open market. I know you're probably hearing a lot of stuff in the news, rates are coming down, but they're still high, all this kind of stuff. So lower interest rate, lower payment, that's the biggest way to affect your payment. Well, second biggest way to affect your payment. The next is property taxes. We'll talk about that later. So lower interest rates, always better. Some of them are going to be 100% financing, meaning like no down payment that you have to bring at all, which is absolutely awesome. Sorry, it's a beer. I'm just kidding. It's a seltzer water. Okay, so some more first-time home buyer programs. Some of them are going to be down payment grants, which meaning it's money from the government that you don't have to pay back. That can cover your down payment plus closing costs. And I'll give an example here in a minute, but like who likes the idea of the government paying for your down payment and giving you the money and saying you don't owe me anything? I like that idea. That's the one I used when I bought my first home. It's great. Some are based on what kind of job you do. For example, first responders, all the nurses, firefighters, police officers, obviously military, even doctors, teachers, lawyers, all of them have first-time home buyer programs available to them. Some of these first-time home buyer programs literally exist because of the bank's bad behavior back in the 1960s, basically meaning that in the 1960s, the banks behaved so poorly that the government stepped in the 70s and said, hey, because you guys are kind of jack wagons, now when you reach a certain size, you're going to have to offer all of these loans out to the community, as punishment, basically. However, those banks don't advertise that. They're not favorable loans for the bank, and they hate giving them out. So if they have to give out, let's say 10, they're going to give out 10. They're not going to give out 11. And so unless you know who to ask where to find those, you would just never know about them. Some of them are federal tax credits that pay you back every year as part of your mortgage interest. So I don't know if anyone here has ever had the privilege of writing a check at the end of the year to Uncle Sam. Imagine buying a home, and because of that program, you don't have to do that anymore. Like, that's always cool. And you may even be able to stack and kind of bundle some of these first-time home buyer programs together to get even more benefits. So there are even more than this, just for sake of purposes. These are kind of the cool, fun ones to talk about. But really it's a matter of working with the right person who can lay them all out on the table and say, this one, this one, this one, these are the best options. These won't work, just figuring it all out for you. So I'm going to give you guys a quick example about Johnny. I love Johnny. Johnny's a cool dude. He wears funny suits, but more importantly, he's a savvy home buyer. So for this example, we're going to talk about a purchase price of $325,000. Don't get sticker shock here. We recently there was a person on the last webinar 2 weeks ago that we're helping under contract for under $200,000. So don't get sticker shock at 325. I'm just using it as an example. But Johnny is going to do an FHA loan. It's one of the loan types. It's a lower down payment, lower credit score requirement, and the minimum down payment requirement is 3.5%. So at 325, you can see that is $11,375 that Johnny has to have as a down payment. If you add back in the FHA upfront funding fee, that's just a fee that the FHA loan charges. They put it into it. The loan amount is $319,113. So Johnny used a grant, a 5% government-backed grant that he does not have to pay back. And his incentive that he got from the government is $15,955. So that money, that 5% covers his 3.5% down payment plus more. So the total down payment is covered by the incentive with $4,500 left over to cover the closing costs. And we'll talk about closing costs, but Johnny's getting a good deal. We literally helped someone on the last call do this exact thing with an under $200,000 price point. So that's just one example, kind of my favorite program. Most people can qualify and get that 5%. It's awesome. Okay, so why isn't everyone using these first-time home buyer programs? Like, they sound awesome, right? They sound too good to be true. They're not. They're out there, but why aren't people using them? And who is? Well, no one. And the money's kind of just sitting there. The reason why people aren't using these or don't know about them, it's kind of evil, if you ask me. But the banks they don't want to tell you about them. And most first-time home buyers, they don't know where to go to get financing. So, people are smart. They're like, I bank at big bank X or credit union Y. And so I'm going to go, they send me emails about if I want to buy a home, I can do that. They kind of track your income and they start targeting you. And so they send you the advertisements and we'll do your mortgage. So, well, that makes sense, right? They already have all my information. They have all my checking accounts, my logins. I can just go there. Well, big bank X or credit union Y, they're going to steer you away or probably not even tell you about these programs for a couple of reasons. Number one, it hurts their bottom line, and the bank doesn't care about you. They care about the bottom line. Sorry, I hadn't had enough water today. Anyway, they care about the bottom line. So it costs them more money because they don't get to charge as much fees and much interest, all this kind of stuff. But also, that's a heck of a lot of paperwork, not for you, but for the bank. And so they have to have more staffing, more training. It's just, they don't want to mess with it if they don't have to. And then the other thing is, if those banks, when you go into that bank and you talk to that, your banker, the loan officer, those loan officers are usually, how do I put this nicely? They're junior or baby loan officers. So they're paid salary versus commission that the bank pays them. So their salary. So number one, they don't care if your loan closes or not. They're going to get paid the same amount of money. So if your loan is a lot of work, they're not going to work very hard on that file. Number two, there's a high attrition. They're always coming in and out at a revolving door. So if they even knew about these programs, their bosses are probably telling them, like, don't advertise that. And then just a side note, this isn't why, but seller agents, they don't like to look at, they don't like big bank X or credit union Y pre-approvals. When they see those, it's a red flag. I've been there. Similar situations with some of my sellers. They know if they close, they're not going to close on time. It's going to be a nightmare. They perceive that pre-approval as weaker, and it kind of puts your offer at the bottom of the stack to where maybe they're not even considering it. So that's just a side note. That's not part of this. But that is something to kind of note and consider there. Okay. Mistake number two. Buyers do the right things, but they do them in the wrong order. You guys are smart. You know what to do. Clearly you're on this, you're trying to figure out information, what to do. You're probably getting advice from, everyone. How do I buy a home? You're talking to maybe a family member, a friend, someone from work. You're Googling things. You're doing all the right things. You're doing your research, but maybe you're just doing it in the wrong order. And I'm going to use an analogy to kind of describe that. But like, if you've ever made a cake, I love baking with my daughter, and I'm not a very good cook or baker, but what I like to do, we'd always do the Betty Crocker, right? You dump in the powder, crack an egg, water, oil, turn on the mixer, come back, throw it in a pan, cook it, you got a cake. One day I decided it would be fun to take my daughter and we were going to make a cake from scratch. Like, we weren't buying the box. So we went to H-E-B, we got all the things, and yeah, we just put it all in a bowl, turned on the mixer and, dumped it, put it in there. And what we got was a delicious pile of hot chocolate sand. Is this still a cake? Like, technically, yeah. I mean, you work for H-E-B? All right, I love H-E-B. But yeah, is it still a cake? Yes, it's a cake. But did I nail it? I mean, is that a cake that you'd see on the Great British Baking Show? No, like that's a cake you're gonna have to cover in frosting because it's ugly as sin. And so that's kind of what home buyers do sometimes. Let me tell you, let me tell you if this sounds familiar. So, you want to buy a home, so you stalk Zillow for 3 years. You're looking around, maybe you're getting some advice. You hear about your neighbor, a person you work with that bought a home in this area. They paid this much and their payment was this. And you talk to some people getting bad advice or just different information that's not going to qualify for you. And so you kind of start like disqualifying yourself based on someone else's experience, from neighborhoods and houses that were actually attainable. Maybe you get on like the Zillow payment calculator, which, by the way, were not made for Texas payments. Texas payments are wacky. We'll talk about that in a minute. And you kind of start to get discouraged. Maybe one day you get curious, so you call a couple for sale signs. Now you have 20 realtors stalking you for the next year, sending you useless emails. Maybe you walk into the builder model. Why not? They're nice, right? Cool home, walk through, nice people. Go to some open houses. Again, you're dealing with realtors stalking you for the next 3 years. And then you finally get fed up. You walk into an open house, you walk into a builder model, the right person says the right thing to you at the right time. Next thing you know, 3 months later, you're waking up with some buyer's remorse or regret because you got a home or a house that's maybe not a home, and you just know you didn't get that good of a deal on it. Yeah, that's not what I want for you. What I want is for you to drive home from a long day at work, the headlights hit the front of the home, and you just sit there for a minute. You're like, "Ah, I'm home." And then you walk through the front door and your family greets you. And this house that you bought is a home that you love. And that when you eventually get ready to sell, you're going to cry because you're going to miss your home so much. You're going to love it. That's what I want for you, not the other way around. Okay, mistake number three. Oh man, they get stuck in the builder's marketing machine. Oh man, oh man. I think I've even been there at some point. So, home builders are awesome. Some of them will roll out the carpet for first-time home buyers. They will work with every single kind of program you want. They'll pay for closing costs. They're doing awesome, awesome things. Some of them are not. Not all builders are created equal. You would think with today's inspection standards that all homes are created equal, right? Not at all. You have some builders at all price points that do just the bare minimum to get by. Now, if you think about this, like putting a plastic plumbing piece is not a big deal. It's not going to cause any problems for the next 2 or 3 years, but what's going to happen in 10 years? Whereas the builder who doesn't skimp on the things and puts the metal piece, it's going to last a lot longer. It's going to be a better quality built home. Not all builders are the same. I want to introduce you to two people. Oh, I love these two people. Handsome sales dude and friendly sales lady. These guys work for the builders. They're builders sales reps, or maybe they're called new home counselors, right? That's what they call them now because sales rep is a bad terminology. So handsome sales dude, let me describe him to you. He's going to run for office one day. Like you're going to look up in 10 years, he might be the mayor of Fort Worth. Who knows? But he's got some charisma about him. He makes you feel special, makes you feel like you're the only person in the room. Smells really good. That's weird for me to say, but yeah, he smells good. He talks fast. He drives like a crazy nice car. Man, whose G-Wagon is that? Well, it's Mr. Handsome Sales Dudes. And he says it's fine a lot when you ask questions. So he is worried about his quarterly bonus, and he's just kind of worried about getting you a good deal, but not really. So friendly sales lady, she could talk to a wall. She's so nice. She starts off by asking about your dog and your kids, and all of a sudden you're signing a 50-page contract, and she needs you to sign it like today, buy the home today, or otherwise her boss might replace her. Now she's got some good product knowledge about the builder and all the things that they do, but you can just like smell the commission breath off of her. Like when she looks at you, she doesn't see your head, she sees a dollar sign. And then when she looks at your kids, she sees like $2 signs because she knows if she can win the kids, she can win the parents. So there's some winning tactics we can do to avoid these people and win with builders, because some builders are awesome. The problem with the builder is there's no one looking out for you. So when you walk into the builder's office, unrepresented, no realtor with you, they're going to do everything they can to create a one-sided deal. That is their job. They work for the builder. They're not licensed realtors. They couldn't be, or they'd be like sued. they work for the builder, not for you. And so they're going to work for the builder and not for you. They're going to be nice about it. So there's some winning tactics we can do. Number one, I love to look for the ones that the builders need to get off their books. The longer they've been sitting there, all those homes are financed. They got carrying costs, holding costs. I have seen builders knock off $200,000 to a mid-priced home because it sat on the market for so long. Number one, that makes me think, how much money are they making? But two, or are they just taking that big of a loss? But like, they needed it off their books so bad, they knocked it off 200 grand. It was absolutely crazy. And then the other thing to do in this market, it's a buyer's market, guys. It's 2024. Is to play the walkaway game. There are so many new construction communities. They're all building not great. Some of them aren't great, but very similar homes. There's tons of inventory available. The best deal that they have right now is not the best deal. They're going to tell you, oh, we've got someone who just came in for the house and they're interested. Cool, let them buy it. Let's play the walkaway game. We got nothing to lose. Well, if it's the perfect home, guess what? They're probably building another perfect home. So, all right. So mistake number 4 that I see people make. They get intimidated by the numbers. And I know, I mean, I could definitely see that the numbers can be very intimidating. But what I want to do is just give you guys some clarity on that, because there's been a lot of stuff in the news and we're going to talk about all that. All right. Let's talk about the numbers here. Let's do the ABCs of closing costs. Closing costs are like such a dirty word for me, because there's a lot of stuff that gets involved in there and people just aren't, even realtors like get things confused. So let's just break it down. Number one, I guess, fees that people are going to charge. So everyone's kind of got their hand in the pot here. You got fees from title companies, lenders, HOAs, attorneys, stuff like that. So number one, the biggest fees we're going to have, let's talk about from the title company. So the title company, maybe you've heard like escrow office, escrow agent, something like that, all synonymous. Their job is to take the home out of someone's name and put it legally into someone else's name and do all the paperwork and all the steps, file it with the state, all that good stuff. So they have fees. They're going to have state recording fees, county recording fees, document prep fees. Their attorneys have to drop all the documents. They're going to charge fees. And then the biggest fee is what's called the title insurance or title policy. So when you finance a home in the state of Texas, or actually nationally, but especially in the state of Texas, when you finance a home or just buy a home, you got to have title insurance. Now, basically what this is, when you're buying a home, you're buying dirt, and dirt's been around forever. And if 200 years ago, someone owned that dirt and they didn't do the paperwork correctly, and great grandson comes knocking on your door and saying, hey, this is actually my land, no one told me, I want my dirt back. That's what the title policy stops and avoids. Now, while title claims are rare, when they happen, and they do happen, they are astronomically high. And because they're so high, we have to have title insurance. Typically, it's going to cost less than 1%, but more than 0.5% of the cost of the house. So it's pretty expensive. Next, we have lender fees. So there's 2 ways that the lender makes their money, and they're going to make their money, is fees and interest rate. So the higher the fees, the lower the interest rate. The higher the interest rate, the lower the fees. There we go. Either way, they're going to get theirs, right? And then you have HOA fees. If you're buying a home in city limits that was built 1995 or newer, chances are it's going to be in an HOA community. Some people love them, some people hate them. We could find non-HOA communities, HOA communities. It's just kind of dependent on what you want. But they're going to charge management fees, transaction fees. They're really just nickel and diming you is what they're doing. Okay, B are funding fees. So these are one-time funding fees charged by like VA loans. They have them. FHA loans have them. Conventional don't really have them. Sometimes builders will charge a one-time funding fee as well, or builder's fee is what they'll call it. But that's part of the closing costs. And then C are prepaids. So those are property taxes and insurance. So in the state of Texas, taxes are paid in arrears, basically meaning that most people, when they have their payment, they have an escrow in their payment, which means the bank is going to take a portion of that money. They're going to charge a little bit more, take that money, put it into an escrow account, and they're going to pay your taxes and your insurance out of that account. That's your money. They're just holding on to it for you so they can pay that. Well, when you first buy the home, you don't have an escrow built up of money for them to pay. So you have to prepay your prorated taxes. It's based on time of ownership or length of ownership. So towards the later of the year, the less it is. But it's same with insurance. So because you have to have the home insured to have a loan on it. So that's it. Those are closing costs. Um, it's not very confusing. It's not very hard. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? All right, good news, bad news. Bad news is they're expensive. Those really, they add up. Good news is we can have someone else pay for them. So it is 2024, baby. That means we've got home buyers and builders like out the wazoo that will pay these for you. They're like, bring me your first time home buyer programs. I'll pay your closing costs. Let's get these homes sold. 2 years ago, that wasn't happening. I wasn't doing these 2 years ago because first time home buyers weren't winning. Now you are, which is great. This is the best time to buy a home. So everyone who waited and didn't buy a home 2 years ago, good for you. Now is the time to do that. All right. So what's not part of those fees? What's not part of a closing cost for home buyers? Here's what's been in the news. Buyer agent commissions. Oh my gosh, you probably heard about the NAR settlement, sellers not paying buyer agents, all that kind of stuff like that. Here's what's happened with that lawsuit. Absolutely nothing. It's a buyer's market. If sellers want to sell a home, they are going to have to pay the buyer's agent commission, and they are paying the buyer's agent commission. And what's really cool is a lot of builders are doing the opposite. They're like, okay, if sellers don't want to pay, which they still are, we'll pay the realtor a bonus, come sell our home. And then when we work with our clients, that bonus, that goes straight to you. I didn't do anything extra to earn a bonus. You take it more off your closing costs. But anyway, you should never pay a realtor to represent you as a home buyer. The seller is going to do that. If you have a buyer's agent saying, yeah, if the seller doesn't pay me, you owe me, run, don't use them. Don't do that. That's horrible. You can find someone who's not going to do that. We don't do that. And then also, the biggest thing that changed from that lawsuit is now, before I can show a buyer a home, I have to have a listing agreement, a buyer rep agreement signed. It's so annoying. It's so stupid. Some realtors are going to try to lock you into these like year-long contracts to where if you buy a home, you have to work with them. And if that realtor doesn't pay them their 3%, they pay them 2% or 2.5%, you have to pay them the rest. And it's a contract, it's legally binding. And they're going to tell you, oh, to show you this home, you got to sign this now. Here you go. And then, I don't know, you're a first time home buyer. You don't know what you just want to see the house, and they're shoving you a 5-page contract. I've had people just sign it. Like, that's crazy. So know what you're signing. And if someone's asking you to sign a year-long agreement, don't do it. Go find someone else. What I do with my people, and here's an example of what your realtor should do for you, is I write in those contracts, because I hate doing them, but I write in there, seller can cancel at any point, no fees or expenses, nothing owed. You can text me and fire me at any point. And then I'm going to do it for like a week. And if we extend past a week, I'll do it for, I just don't want you to feel locked in. I don't want people to feel locked in. The other thing is I'm going to write in there, seller will never pay me $1. And if buyer will never pay me $1. My bad. I'm going to write in there, buyer will never pay me $1. And buyer may cancel at any point, no fees or expenses. If I said seller, sorry. But yeah, basically, let's say the seller doesn't want to pay me a commission. That's my problem, not yours. They're going to, but that's my problem, not yours. I would never ask a buyer to pay me. Okay, so let's talk about Texas and how payments work here. I kind of alluded to this earlier. And I'm going to explain how Texas is kind of wonky with home prices or payments. So there are times where a home that's more expensive can have a less expensive monthly payment than a home that's cheaper. That's Texas. So to give you the best example I can, there is a community in Alito, Texas. There's two neighborhoods that are really close to each other. And one's called Morningstar, one's called Walsh Ranch. They're both awesome communities, awesome neighborhoods, but they're different. And Walsh has they have more expensive houses. And they have more amenities, internet's paid for. Oh, you live in Morningstar. Very cool, Ruth. I love Morningstar. I just help some people move there. Morningstar, as you know, Ruth, I don't know if you rent or if you own, they're in what's called a mud district. They have a 1% higher property tax than Walsh. I've had a lot of people move to Morningstar, and their taxes are higher and the payments higher than people who bought a more expensive home in Walsh. because of the property taxes. Welcome to Texas. That's just one example. There's neighborhoods, there's examples like this all across the Metroplex. And so what we like to do is we like to analyze, and because sometimes people will like settle for a neighborhood because they think it's cheaper, but really it's going to be more expensive, and they could have got in to the neighborhood that they really wanted to be in. They just got discouraged. They didn't know what houses to look for. Did you know that if you live closer to a fire hydrant, your homeowner's insurance is going to be cheaper? Your property taxes will also be cheaper. And there's also what we can do. There's homes that can be across the street from each other that are very similar. And because Texas is a non-disclosure state, meaning we don't have to disclose the sales price to the county, that the property taxes could be $50,000 valuation different. That's going to make a huge difference on your monthly payment when you go to buy the home. So that's Texas, non-disclosure state. But what's important is looking for those homes, knowing what neighborhoods this home's going to be cheaper in the insurance because it's closer and it's also taxed less than this. And it's all about maximizing what you can get. Because I don't know about you guys, when I went to go buy my home, I didn't budget based on the purchase price of the home. I budgeted based on the monthly payment of the home. So if I could buy a $10 million home and it would only cost me $1,000 a month to do it, yeah, I would do that. That's cool. Because I'm not budgeting on $10 million. I don't live in a $10 million home. But I couldn't find you a $10 million home for $1,000 a month either. But you get my point. It's about working to find and to get you in the neighborhood that you want, in the home that you want, and just using all those sneaky little tricks to get your payment down. All right, let's talk about credit for a second. This is where I lose some people. Don't leave here because I'm gonna kind of shock you a little bit. The credit scoring system is your friend. People are always like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It conspires to make your score higher. I know that's crazy to think, but if you think about it for just a second, creditors, do they make more money off you when your credit's really bad and you can't use your credit? Or do they make more money on you when your credit's good and you use your credit? Well, it's when your credit's good, because when you have bad credit, you're not using your credit and they can't make money off you. So the credit scoring system is designed to help you increase your score so you can go get more credit, more debt, use it more. So if credit's an issue, relax, it's going to be fine. We've got you covered. Couple things we need to talk about though. First, do not allow anybody ever to do a hard pull on your credit yet. If your score is like marginal to some of the requirements, like I've helped people all the way down to 520 to get a lot of the good, not good, to get more first-time home buyer programs, you got to be 620 to 640. I've seen people increase their score by 90 points in as little as 2 months. So if your score is close, if you're like 638, something like that, having someone do a hard pull could drop you below the threshold to get some of those awesome programs and could result in declining the loan. Soft pulls are going to cost the lender more money, so they don't advertise it. If you request it, they will do it, but they're not going to just straight up do that for you. And they might even try to fight you. They're going to say like, oh, well, really to do this, we're going to have to do a hard pull. They're lying to you. Go find a new lender. Don't let anybody do a hard pull yet. At some point, they're going to have to. But let's peek behind the curtain a little bit. Let's see what we're working with. And if we're close, then we know we need to do a couple things. If we're good, if we're here, we're gonna like, all right, let's put a plan together. But my lender has a solution for you, and we can actually help you with that. Second thing is, don't be a hero. What I mean by that is, if you've had some issues credit-wise in the past, getting ready to buy a home, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna pay this charged off credit card or older collection. That's awesome that you want to do that. You're a good person, but don't do it, because some of them can be so old, they're kind of just sitting there, but they're not really causing any harm. But when you reactivate it, when you do something, it's like a little spark and you're just dumping gas on it. It's gonna blow up and it's gonna just tank your score. Don't pay anything off. Don't do anything without talking to us first. Not me, talking with my lender or someone that you know and trust that can help you through that. Like I said, I've seen people increase their score 90 points in as little as 2 months. That was kind of an extreme scenario. Most people can go 30 to 60 points within a matter of one credit cycle. So we have a lot of tricks and things we can do to get you just teed up perfectly for you to get all the first-time homebuyer benefits. Okay, so let's tell a story with cost in mind, and let's go through the home buying process. And when we're done with this, you'll see all the costs and have a good plan. Sound good? Let's do this. Step one, let's talk about who is going to be asking you for money, how much money, and when. All right, so first off, how much does it cost to have a team get you in shape to buy a home? Say maybe we need some credit work done, we need to kind of do some things here and there. How much is that going to cost you? Nothing. That's not going to cost you anything for me and my team to help you, even if it takes us 1 year or longer. I've worked with people for about 1.5 years to get them to where they want to be. They had the ultimate goal. They're like, Connor, we're buying a home. I'm like, cool, it's going to take a little bit. And they're like, yes, that's fine. No worries. Let's work together. About 1.5 years later, bought their first home. That is just a testament to those individuals. But yeah, we don't charge anything for that. We'll help you. All right. So step one, let's say we find the home. Credit's good. Get you pre-approved. We go find this. We find all the great programs for you. We have a plan in place, and we find you just 10 out of 10 home run house. And we execute the offer, and you're under contract. Woohoo! All right. So there's going to be 2 big fees you're going to be paying. One of them is refundable. One of them is not. The first one is the earnest money. Think of this as a deposit. It's earnest money, but you can think of it as a deposit. It's commonly 1%. Doesn't have to be 1% of the purchase price. So $300,000, 1% of that, $3,000 is typically what it is. Anything more is just unnecessary. You go too far less, and they might perceive your offer as weak or perceive you as weak and potentially not want to accept your offer. We can sneak by with a 0.5%. I've done that a lot, but most of the time it's 1%. Now, this is considered to be like your skin in the game. So at some point, that money is no longer refundable, but during the first part of the contract, it is 100% refundable to you. The second fee is the option fee. This one is not refundable. This one is the second you write the check, it's gone. So most of the time, it's $200 to $400. And you could think of this option period, the option fee, as kind of the second negotiation. So it's you're buying the right to terminate or back out for about 5 to 7, maybe 10 days, but typically 5 to 7 days. And that's your escape hatch. You can back out for any reason or absolutely no reason. You back out, you get your earnest money back within that window. That is designed for us to get the home inspected. Okay, so home inspection, that's the next thing. And this is the best money you're ever going to spend. So we're under contract. Now we're going to pay a home inspector to come in, and they're going to just dig through every inch of this home and look at everything, and they're going to nitpick it to death because that's what we're paying them to do. A general home inspection is going to cost $400 to $600. It's always a buyer expense, and sometimes there's loans that are going to require another inspection, typically a pest inspection, and that's about $150. And that's the best money you're ever going to spend in your life. There might be a situation where there's a secondary inspection. So an example of that is when, let's say the home inspector says, hey, the AC is not working right. I've been running into that a lot. Pretty typical in Texas summers. When is it going to break in the summer? And so the home inspector, he's not a licensed HVAC guy. He just knows that it's not working right. He's not going to tear apart the thing because he can't do that and tell you what's wrong. So we might have to pay a HVAC guy to come out and say, oh man, you just need a capacitor, it's $200. Or maybe it's like, oh, the whole thing's going to be replaced, it's 15 grand. Or if you have a pool, we got to get that checked out. Septic, you got to get that checked out. So you might have secondary inspections. Okay, so step 3, we might potentially renegotiate the deal. So based on the results of the inspection, 3 things will happen. Number 1 is we find that this house is a turd, and we got to cut and run. We got to go find another home. So we're just going to back out. We're going to walk away from it and go find something better. So that's option number 1. That could happen. Number 2, we could pick 2 to 3 items and have the seller pay to get them fixed. Pretty common. And we're going to have them fixed before closing. And we're going to get receipts, warranties from all the kind of work because we're going to make sure a professional does it. The third thing that could happen is maybe the seller, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, they don't have the money to do that. Maybe it needs a new HVAC. They don't have 10 grand, but they're willing to give you an extra concession or come off the price to make you whole that $10,000 so you can go do that once you close. That happens often as well. So once we get past that, it's all going to go quiet, right? We're not going to hear anything for a little while, and you're going to be thinking like, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong? Something's wrong with the loan. Something's good." No, it's all good. It's all good. But then all of a sudden, you're going to call from the lender, and they're going to say, "Hey, we got to get the home appraised. It's going to be, $600, $700." And the appraisal, it's a loan requirement. They're just making sure it's worth what you're paying for it. Two things could happen. It could underappraise, and we got to go renegotiate and say, "Hey, we're under contract for 300. It appraised for 290. Lower your price, or we can't buy the home." 99% of the time, the seller's going to lower their price. They could say no, and in which case you do get your earnest money back. That's pretty rare. Or it could just meet value and we move on. Now, I like to remind people this is not a time to go use your credit to go finance a bunch of furniture or buy a Range Rover. That is a true story. It was a used one, but he was under contract and went and financed a Range Rover, and he didn't get to buy the home. So that means, don't use your credit at that point. Okay, step 5, it's yours. You own the home. We're going to be closing. You bring your down payment, any closing costs that aren't covered by the seller. You get your keys, and yeah, you're a homeowner. I always like to say plan for about $5,000 investment. If you're using a grant, the seller is covering those other closing costs, something like that. So in Johnny's situation, that would have been covered minus $420, something like that. Oh, here's a cool story, actually. I recently helped someone not too long ago, and I'll tell you about them here in a minute. They bought a home. We did 0.5%. It was $1,200 as their earnest money, and they got a grant, and we got concessions from the seller. When they went to closing, there was so much left from the concession that the title company wrote them a check for $1,500. So they bought a home and were up $300 because remember they wrote the earnest money check for $1,200, and the title company wrote them a check for $1,500 at closing. That's just one example. That's my most recent example. Happened, I want to say maybe a month ago. Yeah, I mean, who thought you could go buy a home and get a check at closing? It's just awesome. All right, so mistake number 5, and this is gonna preclude all the other mistakes. If you get this one wrong, it's all going to be wrong, is they don't hire a gladiator to help them. What's a gladiator? Okay, in my profession, I love this photo, or this, you got the shadow in the background. I just think that's so cool. I found that on Google. All right, so in my profession, a lot of people got in my profession because they, are obsessed with HGTV, selling sunset. They think this job is about riding around in a Corvette with big sunglasses, dressed up, looking cool. Any dummy can pop a lockbox. My job is like 2% showing you a house. Matter of fact, when I show you a home, I don't point out nothing. You can see the microwave and the dishwasher. I don't follow you around. Any dummy can do that. That's not my job. My job is to pick up a sword and fight for you and use the shield to protect you from harm and get us out of bad situations. What is a gladiator? I want you to go to a better school, or I want your kids to go to a better school than you did. I grew up in Lubbock. Inner city kind of Lubbock, and I went to a high school where the teachers tried hard, but it was not the premier. LISD was not the premier school district that other kids had. I wanted my kids to go to the best schools that I could possibly get them into. I want to make the impossible, what you think isn't probable, these neighborhoods you don't think you can qualify for, I want to make them possible. I want to put more money in your home equity faster, because better homes, better neighborhoods, they appreciate more, which allows you to pull out equity if you need, start that business, retire earlier, because we squeeze you into the best possible deal in the best neighborhood we possibly could just by on the hair of our chins. And then selfishly, I want you to be a raving, insane fan, and I want you to tell everyone about me. And I want to do such a good job that you're like, oh, you have a realtor, fire them, use Connor. It's kind of selfish, but that's how good of a job I want to do for you. Okay, so what do gladiators do differently? When someone tells me it's impossible, I don't believe them. I don't think I'm smarter, but I'm just going to keep working the problem until something submits. I don't believe that the inventory on the MLS is the inventory that we're limited to. If we don't see what we're liking in the MLS on Realtor.com, Zillow, I'm going to ask my marketing department to go shake the trees and find something off market in the neighborhood that you want to be in. We're going to call in favors, and we're going to find additional homes to view. We're going to negotiate hard with people that are very difficult, maybe have huge egos that have to win. We're gonna negotiate hard with them. We're gonna beg listing agents. I could be a great bodyguard. Yeah, I guess kind of what I am. Actually, I don't want to tell. I have had to do that in a situation. We showed a home, and there was a drunk guy in the house. I'll tell that story later. I was someone's bodyguard. It was like, we gotta go. It was a mess. Anyway, that just I hadn't thought about that in a long time. That was you put that comment out there. That made me think about that. But anyway, I'm going to consume an obnoxious amount of caffeine and analyze every single listing that's close to every single fire hydrant with the best possible taxes. What side of the street is on? Do you get these incentives or not? Until I find you the best possible deal that I can that fits your monthly budget. Is everything that I'm going to do work? Absolutely not. But I'm going to pull out all the stops until the problem submits. And I'm going to go from A to B to C to D. We're just going to keep going. And we get all the way to Z, we're going back to AA. We're just going to keep working the problem until something happens. What do I look like when it's all said and done? Boom. That's what swollen, bruised. That's actually a real photo of me. I had jaw surgery, but it works well for an illustration. Okay. Let me ask you this now. How do you feel now? Do you guys feel maybe this is a little bit more attainable? Do you feel a little less stressed? Do you feel maybe a little less intimidated? Put in the chat, tell me, like, does this make sense? Do you guys feel like, hey, this is good? Like, I can do this. Let me know in the chat how you guys are feeling right now. It sounds great. Yeah. I feel so much better. Yeah, very good. Just a little stressed out. Oh, well, I don't want you to be, you're just a little stressed out. I think maybe you said you were stressed out. Maybe hopefully we're lowering the stress level. Okay. So what is your job? Your job is to tell me what you really want. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. Tell me what you really want, and I will worry about how to make it happen. It is a single mom. I need a little help. You feel hopeful. Good. Yes. Yes. That's like the scratch on my head that tells me I'm doing a good job right there. You feel hopeful. I love that. I love that. Your job is simple. I just want to know what you want, and I will worry about making it. It's a lot of work, but we'll figure it out. All right. So here's some goodie time. You stay to the end of it. So what I like to do for my clients, for my people, is number one, I'm going to reimburse you for the cost of the inspection. So that's going to save you, $400 to $600 right there. I have a great inspector. We can use whoever you want. I have a couple, but yeah, I'll reimburse you for the cost of that. Number two, I'll have my lender cover the cost of the appraisal. That's going to save you $600 to $700. I'm going to give you a $500 moving credit. And then my most favorite thing I ever do for people is I'm going to throw you a housewarming party after you move in. And the reason why I do that, the first home that I ever bought, my wife and I, we meant to meet the neighbors. We moved in, we're a young couple, and we were busy, and we saw the neighbors. We kind of wave at them. Oh, we'll go meet them, and then life got in the way. Well, 3 years later, we're moving, and it just got so awkward to the point to where we'd see them out, but we never met them. And how do you meet someone after 2 years? And the week we were moving out, we met them. The nicest people ever. We're still friends with them. And I just missed out on 3 years of awesome friendship with some awesome humans. I don't want that for you. So you're likely moving to an area because you want to be in that area. And most people move to the area to be in that area. You want to meet like-minded people. And yeah, I want to help you meet those people. So I love throwing housewarming parties for people. Okay. If you have any more questions, if you want to talk with me about anything in specific, I don't want to, get into like personal credit and stuff like that on the chat. This is not the place for that. But if you want to talk a little bit more in depth, I just put in the chat a link to my calendar. You can book a time with me, whatever time you see fit, and we'll have a 30-minute conversation, kind of just to answer any more questions. So you can click the chat up. While you guys are doing that, now is a good time to ask some more questions. Don't put anything personal in there, but if you have some questions, I would love to answer them. So ask away, type in the chat, any question you might have, anything maybe I wasn't super clear on, or maybe you didn't understand. don't be shy or embarrassed to ask any question because chances are people are thinking of the same question and you're just going to help everyone. While y'all are doing that, I want to do a couple congratulations real quick. Sky, or his name is Skylar, but Sky, we helped him he was on 2 or 3 webinars ago, I don't remember, but they just closed on their first home. They used a 5% grant. They got an awesome deal, and I'm really happy for them. They bought a great house. Their motivation was to they relocated. They were living in an RV until I could, get everything in order. They weren't sure how long that was going to happen, and they have 4 kids living in an RV, and they wanted a huge backyard, and that's what they got. So I'm really, really proud of Skylar and his wife Morgan. And Amato. Oh man, Amato, first time home buyer. They had 1 young baby. They bought their starter home in a great area, in an area that is going to crazy appreciate. It's a tiny little house that they just absolutely loved because that's what they wanted. I'm just very proud of Amato and his wife. But yeah, all right, guys, that's everything that I have to talk about. You're hoping to be in a home in 2 years. Wonderful. If you plan on buying a home in the next 3 years, we should have a conversation, not just to put you on the right plan. Like I said, I've helped people for 1.5 years. So thank you for the information. Anna, yes, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you got something out of this. That makes me happy because I do put my heart and soul into this, if you can't tell. But anybody, please feel free to ask anything. If you have any questions, I'll stick around. If not, if you would rather just book a time to talk with me. And then also, guys, I'm going to do this. I put my calendar in there. That's an easier way to plan a good time that we'll be able to talk. But I'm going to put my cell phone in here. As I said at the beginning, I love helping anybody with anything. So if you ever need something, advice, if you need to be connected with a landscaper, dog walker, haircut person, electrician, anything at all, there's my cell phone. Call me. If you just want a friend, you want to go have lunch, if you're a cool person, if you're in a service industry, I'm always looking for other cool people to network with that my clients, everyone's always asking me for people, for things. And yeah, if you do a thing, chances are I have people who want your thing and I can connect you. So there's my information. Feel free to reach out to me at any point. I truly do mean that, even if you just want to go have lunch. I like eating with people. So yeah, I guess I'll give it one last opportunity. Does anybody have any question? If not, I'm going to sign off and go play a couple rounds of Uno with my oldest daughter before bedtime. She beats me 60% of the time. She's good at Uno. So any last call, any questions? Does anybody have anything for me? If you do and you don't want to ask it here, just call me or text me, or booking a call would be a better time to make sure I have a opportunity to talk. Ruth, thanks. Yeah, thank you, Ruth. Talk to you soon, Angie. All right. All right, guys. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and bye for now.